happy Friday morning, May 28, 2021. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Friday morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Friday morning, so let's begin. First up, state epidemiologist, vaccine management head discuss next steps in New Hampshire. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in, like #1 selling Kubota compact.
This Memorial Day weekend, state epidemiologist Dr. Benjamin Chan says it's not time to take a holiday from COVID precautions, saying there's still moderate to substantial transmission in many communities.
The goal over the next several weeks is to try and get the levels of community transmission of COVID-19 as low as possible, which will allow people to resume more normal activities over the summer.
He urges continued vaccinations, but says it will likely be months before children 11 years and younger are eligible for a vaccine.
That may not occur until, fall and winter. And so come the fall time, there's still going to be a substantial number of our residents who are not yet fully vaccinated. That's going to likely put us at higher risk come the fall and winter for numbers to begin to go back up.
The head of New Hampshire's COVID vaccine response team confirmed fixed state vaccine sites will be phased out with the final first doses through Memorial Day.
Our fixed sites will stay open and for the second doses through June 30th, but first doses will cease as of Memorial Day and be transferred into our healthcare system.
Those pharmacies, doctors' offices, and hospitals would likely handle any necessary boosters in the future and their own online vaccine scheduling, eventually pivoting away from the state website, Vinny.
It stands in the background ready to be stood up at any time. And our vaccine management team and our immunization management team may use Vinny in the future.
And 15 months later, one more question.
When do you get to go back to retirement?
It's a great question.
The answer to that and more on Close Up New Hampshire this Sunday morning at 10. Gene Mackin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire man sentenced after pleading guilty to attacking lawyer. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in, like #1 selling Kubota compact tractors that can do it all right. Z-Series mowers that deliver a quality cut, and the Sidekick utility vehicle built for hard work and fun at 40 miles per hour. Kubota equipment lives up to the highest standards. Yours. Visit your local dealer today.
Chapel Tractor, where you'll notice the difference since 1955.
And the defendant, Dale Holloway, also addressing the court today. He spoke about how difficult his life had been leading up to this point, and the victim, meanwhile, detailed an unprovoked assault that he experienced while meeting with Mr. Holloway.
As I thought I was going to die on the floor of a locked cell at the Valley Street Jail.
Dale Holloway's former public defender turned victim addressing the court today during Holloway's sentencing. The public defender of 20 years was meeting with Holloway at the Valley Street Jail in 2019 to discuss charges related to a shooting at a church in Pelham. Then he says he was attacked.
After that first blow, there was some sort of pause, probably just a matter of seconds, before the blows came raining down on my head, over and over, one after the other.
The victim suffered a broken nose and serious head injury. At times in this case, Holloway acted as his own attorney, but eventually pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree assault. An attorney representing him today said Holloway felt threatened because of his life experience and because his father had been murdered.
Hypervigilant. He's paranoid. He's in fear. His instinct, conditioning take over, and he strikes.
After Holloway addressed the court, the judge gave him 7.5 to 15 years for the assault.
Everybody thinks I'm ugly. I'm not ugly. I look in the mirror and I see a better person every day. I want to apologize to the victim once again, and I want to apologize to the court. But I'm asking the court to give me a lenient sentence so that way I can get my family back together.
And the victim says he does not believe this was assault. He believes it was attempted murder. Holloway's sentence begins immediately. In Manchester, Jessica Moran, WMUR News.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Windham election auditor says there's no evidence of fraud or machine manipulation. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability,
After 2 weeks of analyzing ballots, machines, and memory cards, independent auditors did not find evidence of fraud in Windham's 2020 November election.
Nothing today is showing evidence of fraud. Nothing today is showing evidence of digital manipulation of the machines.
Auditor Harry Hursty says the likely cause of voting discrepancies in a state rep race was a machine that folded absentee ballots before they were mailed to voters. He says the fold on those ballots left a crease across the vote oval of one candidate, and that crease was wrongly interpreted as votes by some machines.
Right now, this seems to be a case of a perfect storm where so many things happened in order to have this discrepancy.
Hursty says his team followed the evidence, not opinions.
I'm sick and tired of all these false information, spread it in social media claiming that this problem has political bias.
Today is, frankly, a day to celebrate because I think what we saw was a well-run process that validated the results and should ensure confidence in the 2020 election.
David Levine is an election integrity fellow at Alliance for Securing Democracy.
Established experts were selected to get to the bottom of the problem, and they have. And that is different from the fishing expeditions that we've seen take place in Arizona.
Auditors also found paper dust buildup in the machines contributed to the problem, and they recommend cleaning those regularly. A full report is expected in 45 days. In Windham, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Most of New Hampshire now seeing abnormally dry conditions, and experts are worried. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in, like #1 cell.
If we measure from the calendar year, from January, that captures snowpack plus spring rain, we're about 5 inches short.
And if you go back a year, the precipitation is down about a foot. The latest drought map shows most of the state abnormally dry. While some lakes, like Winnipesaukee, are in good shape now, there are concerns.
We've got our minimum outflows going, and Winnipesaukee will do what it does for the rest of the season. So it'll go into drop if we don't get some steady precipitation over the next couple months.
If that doesn't happen, the lake could drop by as much as a foot by the end of the summer. Also problematic when it comes to replenishing ground and surface waters, the fact that the trees have leafed out.
It's like a giant umbrella went up over New Hampshire because the tree leaves capture a lot of that rain. They hold it, and then they evaporate it, or evapotranspiration for our STEM kids that are out there.
O'Donovan says you don't have to look hard to find evidence of the lack of rain, even in a green hayfield.
This is a hayfield, typical hayfield in southern New Hampshire, and you can see, even though it's green, it's thin. The growth is really thin.
So homeowners may have to make some difficult choices when it comes to their gardens.
It's also the year to say, these are the plants I'm going to take care of, and I'll water those individually.
As the lack of precipitation continues, DES expects more shallow wells will start to run dry.
If your well does go dry, there is help available. You can contact the Department of Environmental Services and ask about the Drought Assistance Program. In Bo, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Judge dismisses lawsuit involving New Hampshire Youth Detention Center. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility.
The criminal case against multiple former employees of the Youth Development Center is moving forward. In a hearing Thursday, state prosecutors say they have more than 700,000 pages of records, including logbooks that paint a picture of what life was like at the facility. And they explained why even records from 50 years ago are relevant now.
During the time frame of the 70s and 80s, which would typically be outside of the scope of the 90s and the 2000s, there are staff members in that time frame where there are allegations of abuse, and those individuals end up becoming the supervisors of the people that are there in the 1990s and 2000s.
The state says 350 people, most represented by attorney Russ Riley, are giving prosecutors access to all their records related to the YDC. Most of them were also part of a class action civil suit that a judge has dismissed, saying each alleged victim could file their own lawsuit instead because the allegations span decades and involve different alleged abusers. Riley says another part of that ruling will help his clients. The judge just cited the statute of limitations does not apply in the lead plaintiff's civil case, and that even though he was allegedly abused in the 90s, he did not come forward too late.
It takes survivors of childhood abuse sometimes decades to be able to deal with it and try to recover from it. And because of that, you know, if you're a survivor of this type of abuse, you don't dwell on it and think of it. You try to move on from it, and that's what almost every single one of my clients has done. And at some point in time, Mr. Meehan just couldn't do that anymore.
Riley does plan to file individual lawsuits for each of the more than 300 alleged victims. Meanwhile, the judge in the criminal case is deciding whether to allow the state to release its records from the YDC to the defense as part of discovery.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Three additional COVID-19 related deaths announced in New Hampshire. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Like #1 selling Kubota compact tractors that can do it all right. Z-Series mowers that deliver a quality cut. And the Sidekick utility vehicle built for hard work and fun at 40 miles per hour. Kubota equipment lives up to the highest standards. Yours.
Breaking coronavirus news, Nashua has now lifted its mask mandate. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Cherry.
And I'm Jean Mackin. The Board of Aldermen voted to amend the ordinance following a recommendation from the city's health department, and today the mayor signed it.
Nashua is still highly recommending unvaccinated people to continue to wear a mask. Masks can still be required by businesses and organizations within the city.
Another New Hampshire county has now been lowered to moderate community transmission. Carroll County joins Belknap, Merrimack, and Hillsborough counties. The cities of Manchester and Nashua, along with Sullivan, Grafton, Cheshire, Rockingham, Coos, and Strafford counties, all still have substantial transmission.
Now to the new coronavirus numbers. There are 105 new cases of COVID-19 in the state. Active cases up today to nearly 500. Current hospitalizations sit at 49, and there are 3 new deaths, one associated with a long-term care facility.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Senate Republicans set to block January 6th Commission bill. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Introducing new Bud Light Seltzer Iced Tea.
Former Republican Congressman Denver Riggleman joins us now to discuss the current state of play on this. Denver, first of all, thank you so much for being here. You know, the Sicknick family was expected to sit down with several Republicans who were either on the fence about this or were planning to vote no. Do you expect that their pleas will make a difference?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's great that Susan Collins is putting in an amendment. You see some kind of movement. You know, at least people are talking about this, but I don't think it's going to get over the necessary threshold to pass as far as a commission. And it's a shame, you know, and looking at Gladys, you know, as she tries to get some kind of momentum, you know, behind this 1-6 commission, or Michael Fanone, who I've been talking to, you know, and you know what happened to Michael Fanone. I've been talking to him, you know, often, and it just seems to me that this would be, you know, the perfect way to sort of gain the public trust by having a commission that can aggregate and analyze the data that's out there by law enforcement agencies, or some things we might have missed based on things that have happened in the meantime, you know, based on disinformation or data or anything of that nature. So obviously, you know, I'm for the commission. I've been in intelligence work a long time. And I would rather have the analytical eyes, you know, of multiple individuals on this for the public trust and to get this out there. But I just don't see that this is going to make a huge difference in the vote.
You know, Denver, just thinking back to those awful hours where this thing unfolded in front of us, that violence attacking the counting of electoral votes in the Congress. You could see the shock on Republicans' faces. You could hear it. It looked and sounded like Republicans were just as horrified by what happened and what it meant for our country, and that they wanted to get to the bottom of it. What happened?
Well, I got that, Terry and Diane, I got that shock and horror in my text messages. Remember, January 3rd was my last day. That happened January 6th. So I still have it on my phone. And those are individuals, you know, that I respect and I love, but you know, I disagreed with the fact based on the elector vote or on impeachment. I just find it stunning based on what we saw on 1-6, which I've said before was from what I can see, maybe the first or the worst siege based on fantasy and fiction that happened in American history, maybe. I mean, it's because it's sort of unprecedented that we had white nationalist groups, QAnon believers, far-right activist groups, some just really, I would say, bizarre groups. You know, this sort of came together to do that type of thing on 1-6. And, you know, the commission's not going to happen, as far as I know. But I'm going to tell you this. I think the committees in Congress, the committees of jurisdiction, I think they're going to take up this investigation based on the definition of their jurisdiction. And I don't think this is over. And I think there's going to be select committees. But remember, the committees have a lot of power to call witnesses and do their own thing. So I think it would behoove the Republicans to vote for the 1-6 commission, because I think this is actually going to go a lot longer if they don't. And I just think politically the right thing to do, the moral thing to do, is to vote for this commission.
And, you know, Denver, I remember the night of the insurrection, actually the early morning of the 7th. There was a sense among a lot of people, whoa, that we got through that, that's over, and Trump is finished. I said at the time, Trump's not finished, and this is a long way from being over. Do you think Donald Trump is stronger today than he was then?
I think in certain areas he is. And, I think at the few days afterwards, I think there were individuals who thought, hey, this is over, right? We're moving on. But now you have this sort of rift between one part of the party that's trying to redefine itself as conservative to go against what the Trump populism party is. But if you look online right now, there was some deplatforming, and Terry and Diane, I know we've talked about this before, but now you're looking at Telegram, Signal, MeWe, Zello, Rumble. You can go through encrypted chats, but Telegram has a sub-channel called Terrorgram. You have some of the worst things that I've seen lately based on those individuals who are supporting me online. I had an intelligence background, but so many are helping me identify these sort of social network viruses that are injected straight into people's frontal lobes based on, whatever echo chamber they're selecting that day. And I think that's the issue that we have, is that it's growing stronger in the dark. And we need to drag those individuals and that disinformation in the sunlight, because, like vampires, that's the best disinfectant. And I think that's what we have to do. We got to drag these vampires into the sunlight. And when we do that, we can start to identify how we don't allow this to happen in the future. We stop this from happening in the future based on analysis and serving the public trust rather than politicizing every single portion of this. And I think that's why sometimes you hear frustration in my voice about this.
And Denver, I want to go back, though, to the debate over the commission specifically, because Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said that there are already several investigations, including the DOJ criminal investigation. So he's not saying this doesn't need to be investigated, but he's saying it already is being investigated. Does he have a point there? Is this commission necessary?
I think it is. Yeah, there's multiple lines of inquiry, but it's based on authorities, right? So if you look at the DOJ and what they're doing specifically, they are sort of resource, I would say, not strapped, but they're certainly resource limited. And if we have the ability to identify other actors based on this commission and data from all of these agencies, that's the power of Congress. Not only DOJ, right, but also the Capitol Police, any law enforcement that was actually part of this, right, FBI, obviously, but, maybe ATF, Secret Service, Capitol Police, and I'm talking about Capitol Police Protection Duty, right? All of these things we can actually aggregate and analyze. And look how this disinformation and how this radicalizing language really spurred this, because what they're not looking at probably is the last year of data when you have the call and response of individuals that were using radicalizing language and whipping people into a frenzy based on Stop the Steal or based on some incredibly ridiculous and profoundly stupid conspiracy theories. And I think that's what we need to look at, is not only what happened today, but why it happened. And that's the benefit of Congress and the power of Congress to look at things analytically, to look at what happened historically so we can present it, or we can prevent it from happening in the future. And, that I was in Congress, and the power there is immense. The resourcing is immense. And I think it's time that the public, sort of get their representation based on what we do as representatives to present that data. And I just think that's very important.
All right. Former Republican Congressman Denver Riggleman, always great to have you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News.
Okay, and that does it for this Friday morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday and have a wonderful weekend. I'll be off air this weekend, and I'll be back on air next week. And have a wonderful Memorial Day as well. Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Riley King Newscast for this Friday. Goodbye, everyone.